delinquency system or juvenile justice system. They qualify as a foster child, and then that triggers a requirement that anytime there's a dispute, they have to notify the attorney. So we've been working with them. We had good meetings, and I recently presented to them about various issues, including the new law. As well as on that front, on the education front as well, we expanded our collaboration with Stanford Education Legal Clinic to provide screening for all our incarcerated youth that we represent. So when we have a youth now, we ask them to obtain their school records, have them take a look at it, give us feedback of what steps needs to be taken, and then in order to address any school issues. So those are really two programs that we implemented this year. We're very proud of. To provide that expanded service for our client. On the training side, the law, requires that all court-appointed juvenile attorneys have minimum of 8 hours of MCLE legal credit that is juvenile specific. We provide in-house about 12 hours. We provide 12 hours last year. In addition, we made available through the Pacific Juvenile Defender Center and the California Public Defender Association another 13 hours of MCLE for our attorneys. So we had about 24 hours for them. And then we require as a program that attorneys have a minimum 15 hours. So all of our attorneys are well in compliance with the mandate in the law on that front, on the train. And then the training topics always track what the law require under the Welfare Institution Code on the different topics. And we always, involves new law updates, any new development in the on the legislative front, as well as the different topic that we're required to kind of keep an eye on. Looking ahead, I think one of the things we're implementing this year, and we actually just started in January, is we identified one of our investigators to start the minute we are aware that one of our clients are been detained. We dispatch one of our investigators to go meet with the clients, talk with the family, start putting a packet together to have it ready for the attorney at the detention hearing. So we usually have 72 hours. We're trying to utilize that time fruitfully for the benefit of our clients. So that's up and running. We just started on January 8th and has been going well on that. So those are my updates. I'm happy to answer any questions regarding those lines or any other questions you have for me.
That sounds wonderful. Those are really important things. The educational records often tell a whole story. So it's really important to have those, and doing the extra training and getting the investigator going as soon as possible. Those are really valuable things. Thank you for your work that you're doing. Does anybody have any questions for Ron? No? All right, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Okay, and next up would be our District Attorney, Nadia Hahn.
Hi, everyone. I don't know if you can see me or hear me.
I'm going to promote you to be a panelist.
Okay.
I've been sending those requests, but people have been denying them, so sorry.
Did you send me that request?
It
said the host would like to hear from you, which is when I clicked it, it just put my microphone on.
I could prove it.
Thank you.
Okay, Nadia, go ahead if you could turn your camera on.
There we go. Hi. So I have to apologize. I must have missed Johanna's email somehow. So I don't have any prepared summary for 2023. But I'm happy to answer questions if there's anything in particular that anyone is interested in.
Do you have anything to share about what might be coming up for 2004? Something that your office is looking at or working on that is new or different for 2024?
There's really nothing that I can think of off the top of my head. I mean, we're continuing to work with the CSEC steering committee. I think that that'll be interesting going forward, and you know, with the diminishing numbers in the girls programs, it'll be sort of interesting to see how we can maybe work in other ways to address those issues for some of the kids that we have coming onto probation. But we don't have any concrete plans for new projects.
Okay, great. Well, we're so happy
Yeah.
to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, and I see Ms. Aram is here from probation online, and of course, we'll leave a spot open for Chief Keen when he arrives. Ms. Aram, would you like to give an update?
Sorry, I just promoted you to be a panelist, so please proceed.
Hi there. Good evening. I hope everybody's doing well. Happy New Year. I like Nadia, was not prepared to speak about any summary of 2023 or anything that's upcoming in 2024. But I will give you guys the numbers that I always present. Currently, probation is housing 34 in custody youth. 30 of those are male, 4 of them are female. There are 19 youth on the electronic monitoring program. Currently supervising 176 youth on probation, which are out of county. I'm sorry, out of custody, not out of county. And we have 170 youth that are on diversion.
Diversion. 170.
Do we know how many of the 34 detained youth are out of county youth?
I don't have that information now.
Could we include that on our regular monthly report, please?
For out of county?
Yes, please.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Aram? Yes.
I have a question on the 170 youth that are on diversion. Could you tell us a little bit about what those diversion programs are?
I can't speak to the specifics of the programs. I wasn't prepared to answer that question, but if you would like me to for the following meeting, I can get that information for you.
That'd be wonderful, because I think the just to educate the new commissioners coming on, and for anyone who's tuned in from the community, I think 170 is a lot of youth, and it would be worthwhile to understand how those diversion programs are impacting them. Thank you.
Sorry, just to be clear, when you say on diversion, do you mean that probation has a diversion program? So this is a probation diversion program as opposed to, you know, other diversion programs in the county from city police departments, for example?
Yes, it's through probation.
So, and to follow that, any youth that are on other diversion programs would not be captured in that number. That's an additional.
So I wanted to add that those are youth, this is Judge Edizati speaking, the court never sees them. No petitions have been filed. So it's all it's behind the scenes through probation. So I wanted to just make that clear. They're not, no petitions have been filed, correct? So I think that's a good thing, 170 kids where no petitions have been filed that are on diversion. So I wanted to just explain that.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So, okay, so I do not see anybody online from behavioral health. But if somebody is present from behavioral health, if you could raise your hand, and because we'd love to hear from you. A few minutes. Okay, I do not see anybody from BHRS, so we'll follow up and make sure that we have the right emails as far as future invitations go. I do see that we have 2 members from the County Office of Education. We have Trustee Gerard and Trustee Bonini. Would either of you like to speak, or would both of you like to speak? You're welcome to do so.
I'll make both of you a panelist now so that you're able to turn on your video and your mic. So 1 second.
Trustee Bonini or Trustee Gerard, oh, there we go. Thank you.
Hi, sorry. I don't know if you can hear me. I'm in my car on Wi-Fi underground. Anyway, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation, Joanna. I don't know if I know Beverly's here. I'm not sure that she's able to come into the meeting, and I don't know if anybody's present from the county office. I didn't review the agenda. Is that set on your agenda this evening?
Yes, I don't see anybody as well, but I did see you and Beverly, so I thought I would open up the invitation.
Okay, well, thanks. I'll just say I really appreciate the work of the commission. We, as a board, I'm currently serving as board president, and I requested that we have an agenda item, which will be on our agenda on January 21st, to hear an update on the inspections, including the education inspection that you all did this past year for our board. So we really appreciate that partnership and look forward to that on February 21st. And I would just also let you know that we, Trustee Gerard and also Trustee Torres and I comprise the Gateway Committee for our board, where we are staying apprised of and doing outreach around what's going on with the Gateway Community School. So, you know, we are happy to also engage with the commission and hear anything about that process that you might want to share with us, or to share with you what we're working on. So that's an open offer. And I think that's it as far as our relations with the commission and the board.
Thank you so much. We certainly appreciate the partnership. Does anybody have any questions for President Bonini? No? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, so that wraps up our updates from our system partners and brings us to an update on the annual inspection reports. However, I think we need to call for public comment after the system updates. Is that correct?
Yeah, after the annual inspection.
After the annual, okay, perfect. All right, so I just wanted to provide a brief update on the 2023 inspection report. Commissioner Bocanegra and I met with Bonnie McCaskill, Jihan Clark, Sanan Aram, and Yvonne Bustos on December 12th to speak about our annual inspection report of the juvenile hall and to address any concerns that they might have had at the time. After the meeting, Ms. Clark provided me with a detailed list on a Microsoft document, and I went through each and every suggestion or note that she had made, and I incorporated whatever I could ethically change or include. I did so. So I thought it was important that everyone know that the report didn't change substantially, but we did sit and meet, and we did come to an agreement that we would meet more regularly, so things just didn't come up in one meeting. So I'm looking forward to doing that this year. In addition, the BSCC biannual inspection report was also recently issued. That is in our Google Drive, and I believe it's attached to the agenda for anyone who's interested in seeing that. And I have an email into Mr. Thompson, our representative at BSCC, and I've requested to meet with him, and I hope to do so by the next meeting. So that's an update and a wrap up for our annual inspections. Does anybody have any questions or comments or? Yes.
Question.
Yes.
So at our meeting, when we presented the inspection report, Chief Keen was in attendance and had some concerns with the report. And he had indicated that there were some things that needed to be corrected and things that were inaccurate. And were there any points that you would like to highlight for?
Well, yes, I did get the first name of one of the employees that I wanted to recognize wrong. I called him Thomas and his name was Steve. So that was a mistake. And I did change that. And it's important that we recognize folks. And I felt badly that I had made that mistake. There were some minor details, some rewording of things, but there was nothing that was significant, nothing that significantly changed the report. And the report has been sent to the state and to all of our stakeholders. Everyone has received it.
And you mentioned that you made the changes. I mean, it's a long report.
Yes.
So without kind of having the changes highlighted, it might be difficult for people to see, but you mentioned they're not really
They're not
substantial.
substantial changes, so it doesn't change the recommendation, and it doesn't really change the information. It may have added some more context, but it didn't change any of the context of the report.
And you mentioned that you made all the changes that you felt you ethically could. Were there
Yes.
some changes?
Well, of
that you-
course, we might see things differently, right? Or we may have come across information from a parent or a member of staff or one of the children that the probation department may not even be aware of. They may not even have known that we received that information. So it was a good opportunity for us to talk and share that information. So they had an understanding of where it was coming from, and I had an understanding of what their position was, and if maybe a comment was made by a member of staff that it wasn't necessarily representative of the entire department, and it was just a representation of what that specific person had said in that moment. So I think we cleared up a lot of misunderstandings of where the information came from and how we came about the recommendations and what the foundation for all of that was.
And you were also mentioning that there was an undertaking to communicate more often.
Yeah, so when we were in the meeting discussing these issues, it was suggested that by probation that we meet more frequently so we could address things as they come up, which I thought was wonderful. I welcome the opportunity to meet as much as possible. So I think that was really positive. That was
And hopefully that's a good practice point for the next inspection cycle too, that we can be meeting.
Exactly. And with this inspection, we also put in some parameters that we'd like to have inspections scheduled by the 15th of July, which then allows enough time to conduct the inspection, to do the draft, to get the draft approved. So I'm not finalizing a draft on New Year's Eve from my vacation home. So like I did this year. So we want to make sure that everyone has enough time to give their input. And unfortunately, last year we had some issues. And so we didn't even get started until almost into September. We were at the end of August, which really didn't allow for much time. And a lot of our youth commissioners who were coming into this inspection process for the first time, many signed up to do the juvenile hall inspection because they hadn't had the opportunity in the past. But because we started so late, they had to go back to school. They weren't able to participate, which meant the team was short. So it just was a steamroll effective.
I think that's a really positive improvement.
Right. So I think that we're back on track. I think that. Oh, yes. Okay. So I think we're back on track. I think it was a positive meeting. I think we have a good understanding of where we're moving forward. And Chief King, would you like to add anything at this point?
I'm sorry, ma'am. What am I being asked to add to?
I didn't see when you joined the meeting. So we were just discussing the wrap up of the annual inspection reports, and I was reporting out on how I had met with your staff. Commissioner Bocanegra and I had met, the agreements that we came up with, some of the changes that were made, how we came to an understanding of the basis of some of that information and how we would move forward. So would you like to add anything on that topic?
No, nothing else at this time. The only thing I would add is that within the inspection report, there was a request for a written response to the recommendation within 45 days. It is our intention to provide that written response within those 45-day period, and we will be doing that. And yeah, no, there's nothing else to add. You're absolutely right. We've made some agreements to meet more regularly leading up to the space, and so hopefully that will provide some opportunities for us to have some better communication moving forward. So we look forward to that.
I'm looking forward to that too. And thank you for making the note about the 45-day reply. That's really helpful. So thank you. Appreciate you being here as well. Okay, so does anybody have any further questions? Okay, so I guess we'll call for public comment.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm sorry. We're not going to discuss the BSCC report any further, or that was just.
Well, it was the announcement that it's in the packet. Does anybody, I mentioned the BSCC when I was speaking. Did anyone have any questions? I mentioned both of them, that it was out and So go ahead.
I have one question.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I noticed that on the county inspection and evaluation of building and grounds section, right up front, the 1313, Part D is the county superintendent of schools on the adequacy of educational services and facilities that as required in section 1370. So that was something that was completed by the JJTBC in 2022, yourself and Savick, Commissioner Nori. But that is meant to be the county superintendent of schools doing that inspection.
Well, it's always meant to be that way, but they've deferred that to us. They've given us that task. And our reports were issued within 2 days of each other. So he wasn't able to capture the 2023 inspection in his report, because when he issued it out, it was, I think he issued his on the 29th and I did mine on the 31st.
Oh, yeah.
And so they crossed. And so some of the information, you know, is old by the time it gets out.
Right.
But yes, it is I think it's still, I think we're still trying to work out whether or not the commission will continue to do the official inspection.
Something about a discussion
Right.
about that, that's why I'm asking.
Right, so I think I have a call into Mr. Thompson for more clarification on that. We will continue to add educational components to the juvenile hall inspection. We'll certainly still be doing that, but which report will be accepted by the state and who will be doing it? I think we still need some more guidance on that. There was some discussion by probation that was changing. We have not been notified in any way by County Office of Ed that that's going to happen. So we're proceeding as usual until we receive the notification telling us otherwise.
Because the County Office of Ed provides those services.
Right.
So it's not oversight to
Right.
oversee.
To oversee their own services, correct.
Yeah, so it just seemed funny to me. So I think we do add some value by being citizens oversight of that process and having the opportunity to see it from the lens of the community.
I agree, and I'm in complete support, and I think most of us are with continuing as usual. But of course, we have to be flexible. Things change. We have to honor.
Yeah, it seemed very clear that it was the county
Yes,
superintendent of
yes.
schools, so that's what just struck me, but thank you.
Do you have any other questions?
No, I don't.
Okay, anybody else?
Chief Keen?
Oh, yes, Chief Keen.
I do want to add that probation was informed by BSCC that they would no longer accept the process by which we had agreed to for all this time, in which you guys have provided that education process. So that's what we were informed. I'm not sure if they had spoken to you all directly, but BSCC had told us that they would not accept that part of the report. So I'm not sure if they'll be working with you directly or they'll be working with the superintendent directly, but we were directly told by the state that that would no longer be the case. So not quite sure how they plan to work that out, if they're going to just deal directly with education or they'll deal with you, but that was the process that was explained to us.
Chief, did they give you an effective date of when that would take place?
We were told immediately. I mean, we were told as of last inspection that it was not deemed to be appropriate at that point. And so they actually took it out of our inspection from the last time. So I'm not quite sure what the process will be moving forward. They, told the school that they needed to find an appropriate avenue to have themselves inspected. And I think that they were going to move forward with that.
Yes, they did work with us on the 2023 inspection, educational inspection. Sometimes it's very difficult to get consistent information. So your input's really important. It helps us go back and say, hey, what's really going on here and what do we need to be doing? So thank you for that. President Bonini. President Bonini, did you have some information to add to that?
You are unmuted, so you should be able to speak.
Can you hear me now? Sorry, I'm in my car.
That's okay. Thank you for being in your car and being here.
No worries. Okay, you can hear me. I just wanted to share that the information that I have from the County Office of Education is that the inspection, while you were all doing your inspection still, there was a parallel new inspection done by the Santa Cruz County Office of Education because it needed to be an independent body. And that report has been, I was told it's been completed and that our board would have it before the meeting that we have with you on February 21st. But I have not seen the report yet. I thought you might have it, so I did ask for it in advance of the meeting, and it didn't sound like you had it either. So that is who did it this year, as far as I know. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. That's really valuable information, and I appreciate you sharing that with me because we weren't provided with a copy of that report, and I'm concerned that you weren't as well. Chief, were you provided a copy of the report from Santa Cruz County Office of Education?
I was aware that someone else was doing it, but no, I have not seen a copy of that report as of yet.
Okay, thank you. So we need to track down the report so we can find out. What, yes.
I apologize. I do have one other question on the BSCC
Okay.
inspection. And that concerns strip searches. I noticed that
Yes.
we have had a question in one of our meetings, I don't remember which one, about strip searches at YSC. And I think we were told at the time that there were no strip searches happening at YSC. I did notice in the inspection report that there were strip searches happening. And that just, I wasn't sure how to interpret the information given that. So I guess my question, and we may not be able to answer it in this meeting, but it just raised the question of helping us to understand how strip searches continue to be used at YSC.
Thank you for pointing that out. That was something that caught my attention as well, because we had discussed this, I thought, in detail, because we were considering taking on a project on alternatives to strip searching, and we tabled that because we were told that they weren't taking place, and the report showed that 5 took place. So we do need to get together and find out where the miscommunication is happening, and see if maybe there is a need for that project, or what the need actually is.
I think the reference, and I can't see my note on it now, but I think the reference had something to do with if there was a concern that there were contraband substances. So it may be that there was specific context for the use of those searches.
Chief, did you want to speak to that in any way?
Yeah, well, I would need to get the context to them. So no, I'm not prepared to speak to them in this forum, but we can certainly meet and talk about that when we get more information.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Public comment, please.
Members of the public, if you wish to comment on item 4A, please raise your hand in Zoom now. Okay, no hands are raised and no speakers from this location, so let's end the public comment.
Thank you so much. Moving forward now to the 2023 annual report, I'm going to pass it over to Commissioner Luis, who will be presenting our 2023 annual report.
Yeah, well, the report is in the agenda packet, and hopefully all the commissioners had a chance to look it over, and we'll get to questions. I think the main thing I wanted to say is that it is always revealing to me to go back and look through our agendas and our minutes and to see how much we got done. It's hard to, like, at the end of the year, to look back and think about, okay, what did we accomplish? But having those agendas and minutes helps me review. And I think 2023 was another busy year for the commission. Beginning of the year, just to very quickly recap, the beginning of the year, there was a lot of effort and attention around following on from the civil lawsuits that were filed against the county with regard to sexual abuse, allegations of covering up or negligence in dealing with sexual abuse that had happened in the past. And then we turned our attention to, as we do every year, to the experience for youth in detention. Specifically, there was a fair amount of effort put into understanding food and how the food is produced and paid for, as well as attention paid to girls camp and boys camp. I think those were some big topics before we got around to the usual work of annual inspections, which produce a lot of information, which we can work with in the next year. So I'm probably forgetting something. Oh yeah, the other thing that I really specifically wanted to mention was that I felt like the report that Commissioner Wilson helped produce on measuring educational progress for youth in juvenile hall was another example of Commissioner Wilson really helping to kind of push the ball forward for us and for the county. And she had done that, helped do that. She and a large team of commissioners, but really she helped push forward Peerpoint the year before. So that's why I ended the report this year with a special accolades for Commissioner Wilson, who has stepped down. So that's a quick summary of the report. Did anyone have questions or edits? Did I miss something? Did I make mistakes in the report?
Did you have a motion and then do discussion?
Yeah.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve?
I will make the motion that the commission approve the report as submitted, the 2023 annual report as I submitted it.
I second that.
Thank you.
Thank
Can we
you.
open up
Now
discussion?
discussion, yes.
I had a number of things. Most of them were just a little rewording,
Okay.
but there are a few things that I think need to be pointed out. On page 4, you say that no confirmed case of sexual abuse has been reported for years. There was the one on youth incident that took place a few years ago that I don't know if it's been settled yet or not. And I know we wouldn't hear about it until it was settled. So that.
Okay, we can make that adjustment to the language. Yeah.
And on page 5, you say that it was designed as a prison. I was there when it was being designed. There was no intention of designing it as a prison, and it's far more. It's a whole lot nicer than any of the prisons that I visited.
Right.
So I don't agree with that.
Okay.
One of the things that occurred to me, and this is slightly off just this, I think we found that at Canyon Oaks, the food is regarded as being quite good. And I would love to know how much it costs them to prepare food that is palatable and acceptable to the young people compared to what probation is paying. We did the pillows this last year.
It was like 3
That was the
years
year
ago.
before.
That was the year before.
Yeah,
Okay.
pillows and cups and ability to put artwork and other things up on the wall. That was the year before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, years just kind of merge for me. On page 7, you talk about the 9-point secure programming recommendation. I would like to see that included as an appendix, because I don't remember exactly what it was, and I think it would be useful to have it to hand when people are reading this. Then in the appendix on commission membership, I think it's worthwhile to note that we do have commissioners who are in the 14 to 21 age range, and we are very grateful that we do. And I know from talking to other commissions in other counties that we are blessed beyond compare to them in having Zahara and Wesley and Richie. And Amaya and Safi.
Yes.
So
Something is aged out.
oh, he's
Are you
aged out.
24?
Oh, well.
Not 24.
But I think we should, brag a little.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes, because we have exceptional young people.
yes, we do.
We do. Absolutely. And
Thank you, youth commissioners.
One other thing is, you keep saying that we were appointed, or we were elected. We were not elected, we were appointed.
Hmm.
We got voted to recommend them, but the Board of Supervisors and the judges appointed them. They are not elected,
Got it.
okay?
Yep.
But other than, those are the only substantive things that I had. And I'll be happy to share my suggestions for wordsmithing with you offline.
Sounds good.
Does anybody else have any additions or comments?
For the record, I don't have any objection to any of those comments or edits.
Thank you, Commissioner Swope. Anybody else?
We do have Commissioner Amir Nuri online, but Commissioner, you're able to speak if you want to, but you just won't be able to vote. So that's an option for you.
Okay, great. Would you like to speak, Commissioner Nori, Amanda Nori?
If you do, yeah, okay, wants to speak. So.
Great. Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, hey, I mean, I don't really have anything to add, but yeah, I'm sure that the report was well written and covered a wide range of topics that we I did last year.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Nori. Anybody else before I add some things? Okay, yes.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Just on, it's on page 92 of the whole packet, but everything was wonderful and beautiful, Monroe. I don't have as much feedback as Susan does, but it just says that the committee agrees to wait to issue a report on its findings. This is about the sexual abuse protection, yada, yada, yada. I just want to make sure, and I know that it does say that more information will be forthcoming in 2024. I just want to make sure that we still will investigate any like allegations before like annual reports or anything like that of sexual abuse or anything like that?
Oh, of course. If we were to have found something, it would have been reported immediately.
Okay, great.
So there's been no, I want to make that very clear, there's been nothing found, and we're confident that things are being well run over there. We're just looking at policies because of the long history. We were just looking at policies any way that we could tighten things up to ensure that anything in the future could be prevented just by making those slight changes. Yes, but absolutely.
I just want to make sure. Okay.
Yes.
Definitely.
And then Vice Chair, if you really.
I just wanted to commend former, or about to be, well, former chair,
There you go.
current commissioner, still Commissioner Lively, for his work in putting this together. It is extremely useful for us, I think, to have this to reflect upon and to use as, you know, a guide going forward, and appreciate the work that went into creating this representation for us and reflection on the work that we did last year. So thank you so much. And
My pleasure.
we appreciate it. I did not have any.
Okay, so I also want to thank you for all of your work on this, and I know that you were working on it while you were traveling, and so I appreciate all of that. Now, I did have a couple things to add. One, I just wanted to add, one of our projects last year was the Spanish translation that we were able to get, so I'd like to add that. And we also were able to, another thing that we wanted to do last year was to offer an award, and so we also gave an award to probation last year, and I think that's really important because those were two goals that we met last year.
Yep.
But outside of that, I mean, I think that you captured everything very well, and it's not easy to do when you consider the amount of work we do. So thank you so much for putting it all together.
My pleasure, and I'll add those.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So could we get a motion with those amendments, the additions that were suggested here? Could I get a?
I guess I made a motion, right? So I'll
So you'll
amend the
accept-
motion
okay.
to say that I move that the commission approve the annual report with the changes that I will make provided by Commissioners Swope and Rasmussen. And all of the changes that were suggested there, I'm not suggesting that we not make any of those additions.
Thank you so much. All those in favor?
And then seconded by.
Oh, second, I second
Yes,
that,
yes.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
I,
Aye. Any opposition? Any abstentions? All right, well, thank you so much.
Right.
So
I
we've
will get
approved-
those changes and made and get them over to you, Chair Rasmus.
Thank you so much. Do we have any public comment?
I don't see any hands raised, but I'll make a last call now for folks to raise their hand on item 5. No hands are raised.
Thank you so much. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, and that was just updating our 2024 operating policies. And I want to thank Vice Chair Cooper Levy for helping me on this. We just made some very minimal changes, basically to reflect the change using the term commissions versus commission. And so there was some language around that because how we're meeting now as the joint commissions. There was really no other substantial changes. Can you think of any, Vice Chair Lee, that?
There was one additional kind of requirement for commissioners to, and I think this just reflects what we've been doing in practice, but I think it was a very good idea to put it in as a specific point under, what's on the page 9 P is documents. Commissioners shall store and maintain all documents, data, and work products related to the commissions on a specific secured server that is accessible to all active members in good standing. That was it.
Yes, and that's just a reminder that because we have had a lot of turnover and people leaving, and so just a reminder to please put your work inside the Google Drive so everyone has access to it. It's valuable work, and we don't want it disappearing with our folks. So thank you for remembering.
Absolutely, and I did notice as I went through it again, a couple tiny little things that we probably both missed when we were doing.
Okay.
But I'll just give that to you offline because there's nothing substantive.
Okay, thank you. So could I get a motion to approve the updated 2024 operating policies?
I will make that motion.
And
Second.
thank
I'm
you.
gonna check, did you get my addition to be added for?
Yes, so that is actually on the, that's coming up later in the agenda on the, yes.
You're referring to that.
So is there any more discussion or questions on this? Yes.
I had a couple of suggestions for
Yes.
wordsmithing that I can
Okay.
do offline.
Perfect.
The only, I was reading on page 5, Article 3B. It says, the commission shall annually inspect institutions, also institutions operated for dependent children of the court. Does that include foster children? Because that's something that we were talking about a whole lot. And it was determined that we were not authorized to inspect or to inquire as to how they're being treated. But when I read through this, I said, you know.
This is not something that I left that, it's been in here for some time and I just left it alone because I didn't know the answer or what the work was done behind to add it. We just updated it to reflect current things, but I think that is a question that needs to go before Judith because there was a reason. It was long before my time, I'm sure, that why this was put in here. It was put in here for a reason, but I don't know what that is.
I think I can clarify.
Thank you.
I forget which part of the Welfare and Institutions Code exactly, but one of the, what's the right word? 225 or section, excuse me, of Welfare and Institutions Code with regard to our commission says that one of our responsibilities is to inspect group homes. That's the language in the Welfare and Institutions Code, which was clearly specifically put there to include dependents, not just wards of the court. And so when we inspect Kenyon Oaks, for example, if the restriction on us last year with regard to Kenyon Oaks was that we couldn't get information about children who were not placed there by the court. But it wasn't specifically that they couldn't, that it wasn't specifically they had to be wards of the court. They could have also been dependents of the court and placed at Kenyon Oaks, and that would have been under our jurisdiction. So it's specifically the language about inspecting, quote, group homes that is actually in the Welfare and Institutions Code that gives us gives the commission the jurisdiction to inspect facilities that hold dependents of the court.
Thank you for that clarification. And I know going through our Google Drive, I've seen past inspections of, I don't think it was called a lesion back then. And I know we talked about possibly putting that on our inspections.
Alicia used to be the receiving home.
Yes, and there was actually an inspection in the file
Oh, I've
from years
inspected it.
ago.
I've inspected it like 3 or 4 times.
So somewhere along the line, there was a disconnect. That
And we did
stopped
discuss
happening.
last
Yeah.
year the possibility of Elysian being on the list of inspections, but I can't remember what you decided as inspection chair on that.
I think what we decided was that there was a lot of controversy about it and that we would look at it and get with Judith and look at it and see how we can move forward. But I think it is under our jurisdiction, but we need some guidance from Judith in order. I didn't want to just show up there.
So that's why, again, I think that's why it's in the operating agreement. It's not a mistake in the operating agreement. Like it is part of the Welfare and Institutions Code.
Well, foster children are dependent children of the court.
Yeah, that's right.
So we should be interested in their welfare.
Well, but specifically what the Welfare and Institutions Code says is group homes. So it's.
But group
it's-
homes aren't allowed anymore, supposedly.
No, I know. So that language should be reinterpreted for what is current, but the idea is that it's an institution or a facility. That's my understanding. Again, you can get clarification from Judith, who's certainly the right expert to
Well-
talk about it. But I don't think that what the Welfare and Institutions Code, this is my opinion, is saying is we should be inspecting, for example, resource homes, right? Like foster parents
Yes.
or anything like that.
You wouldn't have the bandwidth to do that.
Exactly, right. But furthermore, that doesn't seem to be the intention of the code.
Well, I think maybe we need to revamp this paragraph to be clear about what it does and doesn't include.
I can make a note of that as an action point going forward, so we can have a bit more discussion and ensure that we're clear on what our responsibilities are
And
there.
I do think it would be a good idea to just consult with our council.
Yeah, thank you very much. Any other comments or suggestions? So should we vote on this as is, or we should, okay, so, all in favor of, do we
Have a motion.
okay, motion, a second?
Well, did we make a motion already?
Yes, you
Yeah, to
did.
discuss it. So yes.
Oh, I seconded it.
Yeah, so all those in favor of approving the 2024 operating policies with the suggestions, notations, and follow-up that were mentioned in the discussion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? And any abstentions? Okay, that's passed.
We're just cooking.
Thank you so much. Any public comment?
I don't see any hands raised, so, no public.
Okay, next up on the agenda is our priorities, projects, and ad hoc. Oh, excuse me, I apologize. It's commissioner roles for 2024. So as I believe this was included in the agenda packet, this is also in the Google Drive. I had requested at the November meeting for commissioners to take a look at these roles to see if there was any roles that might have been outdated, any new roles that we might want to consider adding. And so I've taken those suggestions, I've added them into our official officers and roles, and I am prepared to read the roles out loud if you feel it's necessary. No, you don't?
We have it in the packet. I personally don't think it's necessary.
Okay, was there anything that came up that that maybe a commissioner had not had the chance to add input on, or now sitting here looking at the list, maybe thinks, oh, we should delete that, that's no longer of interest, or that doesn't exist anymore, anything like that?
Different comment.
Yes.
Like that, but my comment was, I didn't throw myself into more of these things because I wanted to make sure there was space for commissioners who haven't stepped up for something. So if you still are kind of thinking that you might want to take something on, but you want more information about it or want to understand its relevance, I would encourage you to take another look at the list.
I think we have full compliance right now. I think everyone has signed up for at least one.
Oh, yeah, okay, but anything, maybe there's something
Yeah.
else that people just don't want to be greedy or,
Right.
Is there a description of the role?
There is in the operating policy a description of what liaisons are versus community ambassadors. But in terms of what the specific role would be within, do you have a question on something?
So in the Google Drive, there's different tabs that include, let's say, law enforcement liaison and that type of work.
The drive. I'm
Yes,
just looking at the actual document.
yes. And so basically, a coordinator is someone who helps pull things together, obviously, inspection, legislative coordinator, social media coordinator. Liaisons are folks who attend meetings or out in the community doing things, who represent the commission in that space. And then
I'm looking more for like objectives. What are the deliverables? Are there any? If so,
Excellent idea.
I mean, am I to go and recruit the other commissioners to be, is this not like a subcommittee or is it?
no, it's not a subcommittee. So if you take this on, this would be something that you'd be tasked with, you know, keeping your ear to the ground, finding out these meetings, attending the meetings, reporting back on the meetings. And that's traditionally how we've conducted them in the past. There may be some roles here that may need to be more formalized. And if you have some that you're thinking about, we can certainly take those up and explore those. There are some that are heavier lifts. So there are 2 people that serve on those. But traditionally, the goal has been to be informed, stay informed, to inform others, and to be present in the community and be present in these spaces. So not only people are aware of the work we're doing, but that we can partner with these other agencies on their important work as well.
We also have 2 commissioners who are coming on board.
Yes.
So I would encourage your 2 new commissioners to take a look at this list too and see if there's something that you're interested in doing, maybe particularly community ambassadors.
Okay, I see here 2024 potential new projects and committees. That's kind of what
Yes.
I'm looking for.
Okay, okay. So, so thank you for everyone for signing up. And of course, we don't just do this annually. I thought this was a good refresher time to update the list and see if there was anything that needed to be purged or added. But at any time, if you come up with an idea and you say, hey, we really need to be present for this, just bring it to my attention and we'll discuss it, vet it out, and see if it's something that we can do. I think the more places we can be present and the more we can do in the community, the more we are fulfilling our purpose and serving others. And so I welcome that at every opportunity. Yes.
Chair Rushman, I just have one comment.
Yes.
And potentially a change, and this is kind of getting to the next agenda item as well, or the next page in the agenda packet.
Okay.
On the next page about standing committees, ad hoc committees, you have reimagined juvenile hall as a standing committee.
Yes.
And so to clarify, reimagined juvenile hall is not a committee that was created by the Juvenile Justice Commission. It was created by the Board of Supervisors, and Commissioner Bocanegra and I have been serving on that. And if it continues, which is an if, right? Because
Yes.
I think it actually has kind of wrapped up its work, but then you would take over my spot.
Yes.
But really, I think Reimagined Juvenile Hall should be listed probably on the page before about, commissioner roles, because there would be 2 commissioners who represent the commission on the Reimagined Juvenile Hall Committee.
So that's under liaison?
I guess it would be a liaison, yeah.
Okay.
I guess it would be a liaison in the same sense that the chair is a member of the Juvenile Justice Coordinating Council. There are also 2 commissioners who have served as members of the Reimagined Juvenile Hall Committee, which was created by the Board of Supervisors. So anyway, effectively, it should come off of the standing committees list. It's not a standing committee.
Okay.
And if you're going to put it anywhere, I would put it on the officers and roles page.
Okay, thank you for that feedback.
And
Yeah.
since we're on liaison,
Yes,
effectively, I have been in contact, so has Commissioner Liu, so has Commissioner Swope, with liaising with other JJCs, JJDPCs statewide. So if you are in agreement, we could stay on and continue with that role. And if a specific initiative comes up, we could recruit other commissioners to participate. Because I'm thinking that, last year it seemed to be all about a continuum of care, but there might be an opportunity to collaborate statewide on some other issue, which might interest other commissioners, but we could continue to be the liaison for the purpose and, communicate to others when other opportunities come up.
so I had added that on a liaison for statewide initiatives. I know I've been serving in the capacity with San Francisco and Santa Clara. Paul and I actually went down, we did a tour of the secure track, and we've been working with their folks down there. And I'm in San Francisco several times a week. Are you suggesting that you want to add those positions onto the?
Yeah.
This is something, just to be clear, this is
Yeah.
something specific where Sonoma County try to organize all JJCs around the state
Mhm.
to work on the continuum of care reform. And then that has become like
Something.
a more informal, just email list,
Right.
right? Where,
Yeah.
where like ideas are thrown out.
Yes,
And last year, even though so those emails will now come to the inbox that you're managing, the commission's official email inbox. But I think Commissioner Huber Levy is also on those emails, and maybe Commissioner Swope as well.
okay.
Because they were sort of named as our representative to that continuum of care
Well,
effort.
when it started, what's up? I can't think of her name now.
Yeah.
Our
From
former
Sonoma.
chair, Michelle Gustafson, and I went to several meetings up in Sonoma
Gotcha.
when this first started. And I think we actually did send letters to our board of supervisors about it. And the concern is quite real that, they're trying to substitute foster homes for group homes. And there is not a single, I guess there is one, I think Humboldt County has enough foster homes.
Wow.
The rest of them don't. And they don't just because you say something should be this way, doesn't mean it magically becomes that way.
Right.
So we still have problems with placing children properly where they will receive the care and the resources that they need.
So just
Understood. So
to
just
clarify
answer
on
my
this list,
question, so do I need to remove the other liaisons, or do those stay the same and this is in addition?
my
Yes.
suggestion would be this line that says liaison to statewide JJC, JJDPC initiative.
Yes,
It's kind of too broad, right? Like really what it is it's liaison to continuum of care reform,
oh, okay.
right?
I
And
was seeing
That was,
yeah.
Vice Chair Levy, that was, or Huber Levy, that was her suggestion, and I just added it
Yeah.
as she
So
suggested.
I suggest that because I do see an opportunity for other statewide initiatives, and in conversations that I was participating in over the past year or so, other things started bubbling up and haven't come to fruition, but I could foresee, and it may be even driven by something that we're interested in San Mateo County, that there would be an opportunity to participate in something statewide. I also see that there's value in commissioners liaising with our neighbors for specific issues that are relevant to the Bay Area, which I think is something different.
Okay, I just wanted to
Yeah,
make
something
sure that we weren't doubling up on something
Yeah.
or what exactly.
I don't think it's doubling up.
Okay, so would it be appropriate then for me to add your name with Commissioner Swope's name to this position?
And Commissioner Liu,
And
if you are in agreement.
Yes, perfect. Okay, great.
If I may, I'd also
Yes.
like to add a role for liaising with OYCR, especially.
What?
that was.
Okay, oh, I.
Sorry.
Good one.
Somebody's trying to talk to us.
No, I think that she just.
Okay,
put herself on mute.
so we will add that on to, does anyone have any specific feelings about who should be in that role, or any suggestions, or any volunteers on who would like to be in that
Well,
role?
I think they meet quarterly, right? The Youth Justice Committee of the YCR. So it might be nice to have someone attend those meetings and give a.
On a regular basis. Any volunteers? Okay,
Let's think about it.
yes, I'll add it on there, let it resonate. Maybe
Yes.
one of our
Yes,
new
yes, yes.
commissioners might be interested and we can reserve that spot.
We had someone say.
So.
Oh, yes.
It's because you guys are talking about all these different little things and we're all excited to jump in.
Yes,
As we say,
yes.
don't start giving them out till. we get
Okay,
some-
okay, we hear you.
So if we may just ask for you all to hold off on the appointments and choosing, so that when we finally get on, we might be able to get an option to engage in a conversation of which projects we want to be part of.
Okay, great.
Or facilitate.
Yes, and we
Thank you
always
so
make
much.
room for everyone, right? So if there's more than one person interested and it's appropriate, we always add. So.
When are they getting sworn in?
I'm
When
sorry.
are they getting sworn in?
Well, we'll push that. I mean, my hope would be, well, I'll
Probably
let
March.
And
Commissioner.
usually, these vice chairs of membership and ex-vice chairs of membership can tell you that it usually takes at least a couple months. There's a process of it going and getting approved by Judge Etizotti and then by the Board of Supervisors.
Well, not just Judge Etizotti, also.
Oh, that's right.
the
It has to go to the
court
presiding
judge,
judge.
And then it goes to the Board of Supervisors. And what can take a month is to get on their calendar.
Yeah.
So we'll do our best to be timely, but we can also set up a meeting so I can share with you whatever information that's not privileged information I can share with you, and we can, doesn't mean you can't get started in getting up to speed on these things.
Yeah, exactly.
So we'll make sure to do that, because I'm excited about how excited you are to do the work. Okay, all right, so thank you for checking in on that. Thank you for everyone for signing up. I greatly appreciate that. Okay, yes,
Let me ask for public comment, if
Please.
there's any for item number 7 regarding the commissioner roles for 2024. Please raise your hand in Zoom. Okay, no hands are raised. Go back to you.
okay, thank you. So next up is the status of our existing projects and committees. And I will just briefly go over some, what our remaining projects for 2023 was the Juvenile Hall Food Services. That is continuing. The transitioning project is continuing. And the gun project, which is being led by Commissioner Amaya Nori, that will be continuing. Ongoing projects are projects that were started years ago, but that they're relevant, so they're kind of ongoing. And so that would be like outreach to elected officials, outreach to underserved communities, and the Gang and Child Soldier Project. That gang situation in San Mateo County is constantly changing, and we're all looking for evidence-based programs and interventions. And so that's sort of an ongoing situation because that's fluid. I would also like to mention that I'm hopeful bringing on future prospective Commissioner Blanco, that we could focus a little bit this year on our delinquency prevention efforts in the schools. And so I'll be looking to Ms. Blanco for that work there. I know she's got some great ideas, but I think it's really important that we do outreach with elected school officials, with board members, with administrators, to build partnerships within the schools. Because when I talk to the kids, they tell me, Miss Johanna, I said, where did you go sideways? And they say, it was in school, and usually it's in elementary school. So we're not doing enough to address those issues. And I think it's important to identify gaps in the delinquency prevention efforts throughout the county and to develop some anti-bullying campaigns, because bullying is a significant issue that often results in violence a few years later. So that would be, yes.
Do you have one other suggestions?
Yeah, and then, yeah, that would be sort of where our projects stand now. And so I was going to ask if anyone had some ideas for future projects.
Yeah, I have several ideas.
Yes, great.
One is, I think we can probably find a correlation between truancy and student achievement. And that data is available online by school. I'd also like to follow up on the project I did, I think it was 2 years ago now, and see what's happening with SROs,
Okay,
because that's been wildly in flux. And I'd also like to see and how which schools are implementing restorative practices, PBIS and SEL, and if that's having an effect on truancy and achievement.
excellent idea, excellent.
Yes, if I may, through the
Yes,
chair, I'd also
please.
like to piggyback on everything Commissioner Swope said, and I'd like to specifically tailor that to chronic absenteeism and truancy that leads up to our court and community schools, especially when they are suspended. And so having greater insight into how truancy leads to suspension might also be helpful.
And I think that would help with peer point, with getting it accepted in other schools.
Yeah.
And PDs.
Yeah, and the second project idea was on youth tried as adults.
Yes,
As Rishi mentioned, a lot of the work that Trustee Blanco has sort of pushed me to do has been trying to get youth tried as adults, something that's on the platform of school districts across San Mateo County. So I'm thinking this can be more of a commission effort as well, where we can have a dedicated like subcommittee trying to look at how we can get the practice of trying youth as adults to cease here in San Mateo County.
I didn't catch it. Could you say the last?
Youth tried as adults.
Oh, right.
so to bring the schools on board so they're aware, because a lot of people aren't even aware. So our outreach, so that could, I see that going, it's two ways. I see that as outreach to elected officials, but sort of now that we've sort of mastered all of the elected positions, and of course, people come on all the time, but really pinpoint down on schools and the districts, or putting that into the the delinquency prevention efforts in schools. It go either way.
And I'm also really optimistic with our collaboration with the County Board of Education after hearing.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
I really want this year for us to do a project that is focused on foster care youth, because I know that hasn't been very much, as long as I've been with the commission, which isn't that long, but I know we haven't had as much focus. So especially if that Humboldt was the only county that has enough foster homes, I think that having a shortage of foster care homes and not having group homes any longer available in California is something that we could really hopefully look into and make sure that these youth also don't just fall through the cracks, because that can lead to delinquency, issues or other things.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate that. Anybody else? Yes.
Not so much a project, but more so, okay, I'll just get straight to the point. This past weekend, our organization hosted a 2-day training around mindfulness-based substance abuse training. And it's peer-to-peer for 18 to 26-year-olds. 14 to 26-year-olds. And so we got like 15 young people and seasoned people from the community trained and as facilitators. We like to deploy them into the spaces. We're starting in East Palo Alto at the middle school. But love to see if we can present to the commission, hopefully to try to get it into juvenile hall. It's evidence-based and it's free. It's a free program. It's already funded.
That would be fantastic.
It's a 12-week workshop. And our organization, my organization that I represent, will be extracting some of the modules to try to indigenize it to better serve our specific and various specific cultures.
I appreciate that so much. Thank you. I want to mention that was one of my proposed projects with substance abuse treatment. We don't have a single residential bed for youth in this county. And so I have reached out to the chair of the Behavioral Health Commission, who happens to be my husband. And they had their priority setting session this weekend. And so their #1 priority for 2024 is to identify residential treatment for youth in San Mateo County. So I'm looking forward to moving forward on that effort. And as you know, the commission has been working to bring in substantial substance abuse treatment services into the juvenile hall. So I look forward to putting you on the agenda so we can hear more about.
So fun fact, our organization is the first to receive this in both dual counties, San Mateo and Santa Clara. So we are looking to obviously train more facilitators, train more youth, peer youth, to deploy this into various sectors and where youth are and where substance is being used at. So
thank you so much. This is really, the issue of substance abuse is really escalating with lean and fentanyl. It's very serious, and we need to get started on this. I mean, we're behind the 8 ball completely. Anybody else have some comments?
Sorry, Mr. Smith.
I was gonna say that Ms. Uvila, she's done it with Live at Peace. So she had a bunch of our kids come in and work with it and train them off to the side so they can be things like that. And then she did retreats where they take the kids out and it's a whole day. And to see young kids stay engaged when they're in meetings is really powerful, because normally that's really hard to keep their focus there. And I think it's a powerful program. And what I was just saying is, for like, I want to say almost 10 years, we've been fighting for stuff that deals with stuff like this around abuse, and it's just not here to the point where we've come into county like, what is going on? Like, we got it for adults, so we're going to wait till you're an adult to help you, you know? So, and that really, like, that should be the forefront of everything, because even in our program, every kid's car we get into, or every car that the kids get out of, you smell everything. And you're like, that's how you're coming to program? And half the time it's the parents.
I know.
So we have to start engaging to get them in a different mindset, because they go home to a different mindset. So we have to start fixing it throughout the day so we get more of their time than what they're going to. So if we could really make that a top agenda, is the biggest thing. And just so you guys know, for me, my son died 3 years ago from fentanyl. So, right, so it's a very big thing to me. He thought he was getting Percocet, had a torn ACL. The police couldn't do anything about it. And how they explained to me was the person who was selling it thought it was clean. And so nobody even got a case. It didn't even go anywhere. So like I say, when it's around substance abuse, it's very dear to me.
I agree entirely. And I know a couple years back, this was on our priority list as a potential project, and we just didn't have enough capacity to carry on that project. But I think the time is here, the time is now. And so I'll go ahead and gather these ideas up and make it more formal for our next meeting. Because I agree, it's a top priority. And a lot of times, unless we can deal with that, we can't get to the robberies. We can't get to the DUI. We can't get to any of that until we're dealing with the underlying addiction. So is there any other things that you'd like me to put on the list for potential projects or priorities for the upcoming year? Yes,
I was just wondering if there was any sort of project to address the strip searches that seem to be continued that you were mentioning in the report.
So I think, one of the suggestions I had, I know that sex trafficking has become an issue with teens in East Palo Alto that's coming to the focus. It is Sex Trafficking Awareness Month this month. So issues like sex trafficking and the strip search, I think that could be incorporated into the Sexual Abuse Prevention Committee, because while it was formed to look at these, the litigation and policies, really, it's sexual abuse prevention, right? And so we could, once that chapter is closed, we could take on these issues in that same committee. And I think they're worth addressing. And I think that would be the perfect place. Anybody have any other suggestions on how that might be handled? Okay, so I'll go ahead and compile all the notes. Of course, if there's something that comes to mind between now and the next meeting, let me know and we'll look at it, and we'll look to sort of assign folks and pick our projects for the next year. Okay, do we want to take any public comment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the public, if you wish to comment On item 8, priorities, projects, and ad hoc committees, please raise your hand now in Zoom. Chair, I think your husband wants to talk. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay. I think he's here. Is he here?
I think he left.
Oh, okay, maybe after name dropped to me.
No public comments.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, all right, so moving on to our legislative update.
Well, I wanted to firstly thank Chair Rasmussen for her diplomacy with the Behavioral Health Commission. That was really, really helpful. But yes, today I'll be updating on 3 more recent bills. I know we've tracked a set of legislation in the past, but I find these 3 to be more pressing in terms of the scope of what it addresses within the juvenile justice system. So the first is AB 1497, and I'll send a more substantive update to the minutes. I'll send it to Suki and Chair Rasmussen, and hopefully we can attach that to the minutes. So AB 1497 rather is called Legal Justice for Domestic Violence and Human Trafficking Victims. And it just passed the Assembly Public Safety Committee and has been referred to appropriations. So if I were to guess, it would probably be several months before we make major progress on this bill. But essentially what it does is it allows for domestic violence and human trafficking survivors to share their victimization stories in court, and for the judge to consider that in rendering their ruling as well. And the specific language is the court shall not impose, well, this is the second section, which is with regard to imprisonment. The court shall not impose consecutive terms of imprisonment for 2 or more felonies if, and it lists a set of contributing factors. And the second part of, well, the same condition is the court shall not impose a term of imprisonment for any enhancement. So it's about felonies and enhancements. And some of the factors that stood out to me are any psychological, physical, or childhood trauma, including abuse, neglect, exploitation, or sexual violence. And also that the person is a youth or was a youth as defined under the section at the time of commission of the offense. So that means that courts can no longer impose 2 sentences right next to each other for either felonies or enhancements, should this bill pass, for victims of domestic and human trafficking, but also people who suffer significant childhood trauma.
That's significant. That'll be significant in this county.
Yeah, and it's again in the in the Assembly Appropriations Committee. It hasn't reached the Senate floor yet, or the Assembly floor for that matter. So we will see where that goes. And that's sponsored by Assemblyman Haney from San Francisco.
Haney,
yes. The next bill is AB 912, and the status of this is also in limbo. It's called the SAFE Act. That's the Strategic Anti-Violence Funding Efforts Act. And it is a bipartisan bill. It passed the Assembly with a 78-2 vote and the Senate in a 39-1 vote. However, Governor Newsom did veto this bill because it costs around $19 billion. And so the language of this bill is that it plans to make available planning grants in specified amounts to be used for costs associated with assessing the need for a school-based health center in a particular community or area and developing partnerships for its operation. And it would, the grant, which is run by the DOJ, would prioritize high equity impact areas as well. And so, let's see. Yeah, and this grant is through the Violence Reduction Grant Program of the California DOJ. And it also establishes the Youth Reinvestment Grant Program, which is state funding for diversion opportunities throughout the state. So this does cost $19 billion, and it has been vetoed, and the legislature has not taken action on that veto yet. So this is something that we don't know what will happen because, again, it did pass the Assembly 78-2 and the Senate 39-1. But at the same time, Governor Newsom did veto it. So we will definitely keep an eye on what happens with AB 912. And the third bill is AB 505. This is also somewhat contentious for various groups. across the state, and it's fulfilling California's promise to vulnerable youth. That's from Assemblyman Ting. And it requires review and approval of county plans, ensuring that state funds are used as intended by the legislature, and requires plans be developed with regular local participation, local community participation. So that's local participation for county plans with regard to the SCC. And it ensures that all youth are treated equally and get help as quickly as possible from the OICR ombudsperson, and places all BSCC youth-related duties under the purview of the OICR to ensure consistency with the legislature's transformative vision. That's what they call it. And despite some opposition, this was signed by the governor a few months ago. And so we will see how OICR implements AB 505. That'll take any questions if you have any.
Thank you so much for your work on that. Who has questions for Commissioner Wu? Or comments or?
So that was AB 505?
Yes. So the first one was AB 1497, the second was AB 912, and the third was AB 505.
And AB 505 is actually law now?
Yes.
Okay, so
Thank
I'll,
you for the research and the updates.
yes, I will print up the text of those bills and stick them into the legislative folder if that's okay.
Yeah.
All right, so if anyone wants to read that, they'll be available there. Thank you so much. Do we need to call for public comment? Sure. Thank you.
Members of the public, if you wish to comment on item 8, please raise your hand now. No, I'm sorry, 9. Item number 9, legislative update. Please raise your hand and zoom out. Okay, no hands are raised, so back to you.
Okay, thank you. So we're moving through this agenda quite quickly, and we had a lot of work to do, so that's wonderful. Next up is announcements, and so I'd like to start with Commissioner LaBuise. I know he mentioned briefly at our last meeting that he would be resigning from the commission, and so I wanted to give him an opportunity if he wanted to say anything more, and to give us an opportunity to acknowledge Commissioner LaBuise for his work and his contributions to the commission.
Well, thank you. Yes, I do intend to submit my resignation, right after this meeting. I was able to issue my annual report and then also come vote for the new commissioners to take my place, which I'm excited about. So those were my 2 goals in staying on through January, and mission accomplished. So yeah, thank you. It's been a little over 4 years. I think it was October 2018. No, 2018? 19. Thank you. 2018 was when I started with CASA. 2019. And so that makes it a little over 4 years. Commissioner Bocanegra and I were both sworn in together. It's been thoroughly enjoyable, and I've learned a lot doing this, and it's been really valuable. So I'm planning to, focus my time on some other projects, but still doing things sort of related to the health of the county and youth in the county. So it's been a pleasure working with you all.
Well, thank you so much for
And
everything
meeting
you've
all the
done
new
for us.
commissioners as well.
Yes, and for the children. I mean, your efforts to reimagine Juvenile Hall, I mean, that was a huge lift. And to get that, and then to bring this whole body of all these folks together to say, hey, how do we soften this environment? How do we make this better?
Yeah.
And prior to my time here, I know I've heard from prior chairs and longstanding members of all the organizational skills that you brought to the commission, putting the strategic planning and putting together these annual things. So everything was focused and narrowed down so we really could get to work. I mean, those were really valuable things that will stick with us. Now they're annual things, right? So who else would like to say a few words about Commissioner LaBuise? I know Commissioner Norris served for quite a long time.
Yeah, so I actually joined the commission right before Commissioner LaBuise did. And I remember right away when he joined the commission, he kind of kicked us up into a higher gear with starting, our idea of having a strategic plan coming up with action items. And I think throughout them, he's been a great leader for our commission. I know we'll miss him a lot. And I think I've learned a lot from him, and I've really respected his leadership, especially during some of our really challenging times during COVID and after that, as to, what we want to do as a commission. So we're really grateful for his time on the Juvenile Justice Commission.
Thank you, Commissioner Mori.
Thank you. Who else would like to speak?
Yes, I wanted to recognize Commissioner and former Chair Luis for all of the time and effort you put to ensure that every voice was heard, to be very inclusive, and to ensure that any decisions that we took represented all the views in the room and were considered, and to ensure that we acted as a commission, that we were transparent and shared information, and worked as a team. And I really appreciated that. And I'll miss you. It's been a pleasure working with you. I also very much appreciate your insight and your incisive mind, and the fact that you can hone in on real issues and get this straight in many times through many issues. You made sure that we were focusing on the right things, and I very much appreciated that.
Thank you.
I could cry.
Maybe later we'll have a cry together.
Yes, I really appreciate everything that you've done since you've been on the commission, and just the thoughtful way that when you were elected chair, you arranged to have lunch or coffee with each one of us to get a sense of who we were, and the careful way that you put together the meetings, the kindness that you showed to, I think, everyone. We can't lose you. We do need to stay in touch somehow or another.
We'll continue to have those coffees and lunches then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes.
Commissioner Luis welcomed me to the commission, I think almost 2 years ago when I was still a youth liaison, and since then has done such a fantastic job chairing the commission, welcoming new members. I think what everyone was saying earlier, we'll really miss you, and I think what you added to the commission, not only in skill, but also in your personality, was incredibly valuable. Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, Commissioner Luis called me, and I talked his head off for about an hour. Probably gave him a little bit too much information, but as our introductory call led into, coming onto the commission, it was such a delight to be in space with you, as well all the correspondence on email, and just giving me the constant updates of the commission, and just very welcoming. Thank you so much.
I just wanted to take a moment to reflect on my first interaction with Monroe, which isn't really an interaction with Monroe. It was with PeerPoint, and there was a meeting with Chief County Executive Callaghy, and I was a volunteer for PeerPoint. And then I was talking to Melissa about it. And then she said, "Oh, we only have room for three or four people to attend this meeting, and Monroe's leading it, so he's very strict." And I was like, "Okay, who's Monroe? Who's Monroe?" And I had to ask a few times because it didn't sink in. And then I met you, and then I realized, wow, this is Monroe. But anyways, it's been a privilege to serve under your chairmanship. And I guess the main thing I'll remember is your ability to kindle the conversation, but to also keep us tempered in the sense where we could talk for the whole evening, and you were able to have that strategic vision, but at the same time, make sure that the commission was able to capture each of our unique voices. And I thank you for that. I think it's a skill that all of us could learn from. So thank you so much for your time and for your presence. I hope I can join the next three-person meeting with County Executive Callaghan, and who is Monroe. I think that my answer is incomplete, but hopefully we'll hear back from you and I'll be able to answer who is Monroe.
Thank you, Commissioner. That's a great memory.
Anybody else?
I'll miss you for sure. Like I said earlier today, like I haven't been with the commission very long, but you've always been here with me in the commission. So I just appreciate you, your thoughtfulness, your diplomacy, just your. I was gonna say your soft sternness. You're very good at like facilitating. Like I don't know if you realize that you're extremely good at that, and just your presence. And I know that you really do care about the community and about our youth, and hope that you still come and do this.
I will.
Yeah.
I might be lurking on Zoom for a while.
Really welcome that. Anybody who hasn't had a chance to speak, who would like to speak?
Just real briefly, we're going to miss you.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
we certainly are.
I miss
And
you all as well.
your efforts and contributions will be carried forward, and you've really made a difference in the lives of children and families. Thank you. Let's hear it for.
Really kind words.
Okay, the next announcement is coming from Commissioner Swoop, and it's about library books.
Now, after our last meeting in November, I contacted Derek Wolfgram, who's Redwood City's Director of Libraries, about the county's library system and could they help facilitate more culturally appropriate books for the Hillcrest Library. And he responded that he had talked to Joanna about providing ebooks. And he had just met with the deputy director for this library system, and she had some interest in helping as well. So he was going to look into what relations the libraries have had with Hillcrest in the past. And later that day, he called to say that Redwood City Library's Friends of the Library was overstocked in young adult books and had several boxes they could contribute. So I contacted Chris Cannon, who's the volunteer librarian at Hillcrest, and we arranged to meet at the Redwood City Library. She went through the books and took about 3 boxfuls to Hillcrest. But one thing that we missed in our inspection was in one of her emails, Chris told me, that Superintendent Nancy McGee does provide funding every year for new books, and they ask the students what books they would like. She says, I keep a running list to add to our collection. Sounds like I need to let the students know that their requests are heard and acted on. There is a short list of books which probation will not allow. I am aware of those titles and respect that decision. And in the interim, Derek has assigned someone from the library to be a liaison with Chris and let her know when new books are available. And the books that we got, they look brand new. They didn't get very hard usage at all. So I'm hoping that'll lead to an ongoing relationship between the library system and Hillcrest Library. So that can augment what County Office of Education can do in terms of supplying other books to the library. But apparently the kids we talk to aren't aware that all they have to do is ask Chris, and if they're not on the list of books that are not allowed, and in this case, I think banned books is not quite the sin it is elsewhere.
And there's very few. I mean, there's very few books that are on the list. Yeah. And I know that we have included that when Shelley Johnson was in charge up there. She did tell me that we included in the education inspection that they could order books, but if nobody knows, they're not being ordered, right? So key point. We also have a good connection for books through the Redwood City Police Department and Fire Department toy drive. I got a call from them after this year's toy drive saying, we've got tons of teenage books that are brand new that we have no use for. So they've dropped those off at my house. So I think we've got a good handle on books. It's nice that we're reusing things like that, recycle, that reuse, so things aren't going in dumpsters, and these are really, valuable resources to have. So Thank you so much for your efforts on that. And Derek's like the best person to work with.
Oh, he
And I
is.
told him, so many of our kids come from Redwood City. I need you to step it up and start giving us some stuff.
Well,
So, you know, and he came through.
well, he came through. He's come through on a number of things. I don't know if people know, but Redwood City, I guess it was maybe 5 years ago, was named the #1 library in the country.
Wow.
Fantastic.
One on Middlefield?
Hmm?
One on Middlefield?
No, well, Redwood City Library has the main one on Middlefield across from City Hall. And then it also has three branches. One in the shores, one over near on Bloder Road or right near
Shaper,
there,
yeah.
and one down at Fair Oaks.
Yeah, and it's led by Derek. He's been doing it a long time and he's really knowledgeable. He lives on Candy Cane Lane, if you've ever gone by it Christmas time. So he's really involved in community things, yes.
But the thing is, one of the things that's key to children succeeding is reading. And a lot of these young people, they don't read very well. So if we can put something before them that they can get involved with, it can only help them in the future.
Absolutely, and when they're here, they read. Even their parents tell me, they're reading. They don't read at home, but they're reading here.
When they're in
When they're
detention.
incarcerated, when they're
So
incarcerated.
is it the person that you mentioned in the hall, is she the librarian? Is there a librarian?
She's a volunteer. She's been the librarian there for as long as I've been connected with Hillcrest.
And does she connect the kids with books? You know, because sometimes
Well,
it just
that's
takes a
the
little
other-
nudge.
Well, yeah, she tries to get them to tell her what they want.
Right.
But I think maybe one thing is they probably don't even know what they want.
Yeah, I'm thinking, because best kind of book inspiration is something like, what are you interested in? You know, what, and then a suggestion of a series, or, you know, I was doing some inspection, talking to kids, and can you know, because it seemed like some of the kids, once they got hooked on a series that they liked, then they're like, I read the whole thing, I read all 7 books, and then we shared them. And so it would be wonderful if someone could take those few moments kids to give them those suggestions.
I actually recently mentored a young man who was in the hall who was reading when he wasn't before, and it was on the suggestion, I think, of some of the teachers.
Oh, great.
He found some books, and then there was a couple of others in a series. So it's definitely true. Like, I mean, from that one anecdote, I can say,
Yeah.
the kids that are in detention, they need to fill their time.
Well, that's a great opportunity
They
to
could
get
do it
them
with
hooked on books. And we used to do summer reading lists for schools in our area, and, you know, to give kids kind of an idea. So it'd be like topics, and you could go in, and it was like an online list, and you could search, you know, I'm interested in horseback riding, you know, oh, here's bunch books, or, you know, just different things like that. I don't know if we could build something, Zahara, on the portal that you were working on, if there would be some sort of link to suggestions for books, like to have kids navigate through something to find suggestions of genres. Or
I think we could totally add that. I think that would be
There's
really.
actually a list that lists like top lists of books for juvenile detention facilities.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so those have been the books that I focused on bringing to the facility. Lists that I've created about, like, you know.
And if we could give kids access to those lists, then they might request stuff too.
Right, or just know about it. Hey, have you read
Yeah,
this?
if you like this, you will also like this.
Right.
You know, kind of.
And in addition to the library, the main library at the school facility, each unit also has a unit library. It's much smaller,
just
but
a
so
bookcase.
books are available on the unit as well. They don't have to be in school in order to read a book.
Yeah.
Well, and Chris said she would put some of them on our unit.
That's fantastic.
Wonderful, that's great
Thank you
news.
so much. So I have 3 brief updates. One, I wanted to report out that Paul and I, through Re-Evolution, our parent support group, in December, we had a dinner. We had 12 families of incarcerated children join us for dinner. It was our highest attendance, and we had a wonderful holiday celebration. So I wanted to share that. So we're really making headway on our parent support group. We also thank you to every commissioner who donated, community members who donated money towards our holiday gift bags. We were able to collect $3,500 to provide ethnically appropriate hygiene products and a cozy blanket to the children this Christmas, and that was very well received. And then lastly, I want to mention that I was invited by the Redwood City Council to give a presentation on the juvenile justice system and Redwood City youth incarceration, and that was very well received. That's available online if anyone's interested in seeing it. And we've also established a presentation tab in the Google Drive that has specifics. So if you're giving a presentation to a school or giving it to a city or to a fellow commission, they're there, and you could sort of play with it to, you know, for your audience, but they're there. But it was very well received. Redwood City is typically the most, if not second, on the list of most incarcerated youth in the county. And the council was very receptive to hear about what
available on the
Redwood City Council website, and it was at their last meeting, which was
Monday.
It was a Monday, so it was last Monday.
22nd.
Thank you. And it was very well received, and they had some great questions. So that is the end. Does anyone else have any announcements on anything that they're going to be participating in, or anything that they'd like to share that did not make it to the agenda?
When I was reading Jennifer's application, she mentioned something about probation as a funding source. I think you're probably referring to the JPCF and the JJCPA state funding sources, the Juvenile Probation and Camps Funding, and the Juvenile Justice Crime Prevention Act. And you can find the description of who got the money, how much they got, and the evaluation of the program on the probation site. Go to the Juvenile Justice Coordinating Council and look for the local action plan for 2016 to 2012. Actually, you probably want 2011 to 2015.
I have it. I can send it to you.
Yeah.
I can send
But I think that's probably what you.
Right, I found that, if I misspeak, I found that information reading the Welfare and Institutions Code. I found that very interesting.
And then you said you want
more, yeah.
What are we doing with it?
Well, the thing is, right, it's like, well, how much is the probation department receiving? And what is that money, which programs is that money going to? And I mean, yeah, we just need to constantly evaluate if the money is being well spent and if it's being effective.
There's lots of information about that on the probation website, actually.
So
Yeah,
much for that
under
direction.
the Juvenile Justice Coordinating Council. That's the purpose of that, is to oversee that money.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, that wraps up our first of our annual meeting, and do we need to take a public comment for announcements? Okay. All right, public comment for announcements,
Thank
please.
you, members of the public. If you wish to comment on item 10, A, B, C, and D, please do raise your hand now. Okay, no hands are raised. So back to you.
All right, thank you so much. So this wraps up our annual meeting, our January meeting. Thank you so much to everyone who's attended, and we look forward to seeing you next month.
All the time is now 7:12 p.m. and the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.